Hello, Steve Arts 89. Well, it's Halloween. I am doing kind of a review of each of the Halloween films because I watch them every year on Halloween, but I actually sat down and paid a bit more attention to them this year, and then it just gave me a bunch of things I want to talk about. So we're up to Halloween 4, which is probably my favourite in some ways because it wasn't the first Halloween I saw. I saw the first Halloween on TV, but I got this on video when I was a kid and I just watched it a million times. And it is sort of a remake of the original, but bigger, and it has more of a budget, and you get the whole town sort of being involved in what's happening, and that appeals to me a lot more than in the original, where it works the way it's structured and created, where it's these three sort of girls being stalked. And it's very like insular and small, but that sort of works because that sort of claustrophobia is part of the fear and what works about it. But yeah, it came out of the last film failing, basically, and that's why it's called The Return of Michael Myers, and they really understood what the audiences wanted in that sense that they very much wanted another Michael Myers film. So it's fairly simple. It was written in 11 days, and there's only a couple of little flaws with the story, I think, that probably would have, because there was a writer's strike, they had to get it written in just a few days so they could actually, go on. This was the big 1987 strike, I think it was, because we just ended the last strike, but there was a big one in 87 or 88. So basically Michael is in a hospital after being severely burned in the last film, and when he discovers he has a niece, because they're transferring him on Halloween night, of course, to a lower security prison, because he's basically been not comatose, but non-responsive for like a decade. They view him as harmless. He, of course, overhears that he's got a niece, and he basically wakes up and starts killing everyone and goes back to Haddonfield. And, of course, Pleasance hears about this. Dr. Loomis hears about this. And, of course, he goes back there as well. And we have this new character, Jamie, played by Danielle Harris, which she plays very well. I don't know if they ever wanted to follow Laurie, or if they were going to do there were lots of versions of all of these stories. All the films had different ideas. That happens a lot with sequels, because when you have an original idea for a film, you just do it. If you have a film you're trying to create a sequel, there's a lot of options. So I just really love this film. Everything about it works. Jamie Lee. Danielle Harris, who plays Jamie, is really great. Rachel is a good example as well. She's not your typical stupid teenager. Michael is fairly imposing and fairly relentless, and there's not a lot of gore in the film, but there's more than the original. They do try to build suspense in the same way in a lot of scenes, but they don't actually. You still get the gore. You have murders fairly early in the film, and mostly just the whole idea they know Michael's coming and they're all trying to escape Michael. I like that better than, the person not knowing that someone's out there following them and they're just, walking around with no idea someone's stalking them. At least with this, at some point, everyone becomes aware of it and becomes like a communal thing and part of sort of the myth of the boogeyman and Michael Myers and all that. Because everyone knows who he is, but it's been 10 years since all this happened. So people still haven't recovered from it, but, not everyone knows about it on some level. So I think some of my favourite scenes are where you see the town reacting to it. But the ending was interesting. They were seriously going to explore Jamie as a villain, the idea that Michael could pass his evil on to someone else. And I think on some level there was also John Carpenter hated what he did with Michael in making him Laurie's brother, and a lot of the possible sequels sort of triggered that in him, and he did have some involvement in this film initially early on, but I like the way they handled him. I like that they didn't actually continue on with the idea of passing the evil on to someone else, but it is a good surprise ending, and I've had people ask me what the ending meant because they don't understand, and they know I'm a horror fan and a Halloween fan, so they asked me what it meant. And I think they just the idea of exploring the idea of evil and it passing from one person to another, and they do keep wanting to do this with Michael. They've touched on it a few times in the series, but ultimately they always come back to Michael because that's what the fans want. And Mustafa Akkad actually had it in his contract that Michael couldn't die, and he made sure they kept it alive and they kept him going. And not just because he was getting money from it. I think he really, really liked the franchise and appreciated it. And particularly after Donald Pleasance died, he also wanted to continue making the films like Donald actually wanted them to continue. But I'm going to go for free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. I can't believe I'm talking less about Halloween 4 than I am about Halloween 3. But there's nothing to complain about because so much of the film works. So there's not a lot to say because it's just, unless I just go through all the story points, it's a bit, trying to think, what else is there? I mean, the sound's great, the lighting's good. There's an issue with the DVD where when they remastered it, they didn't put back the colour timing. So some scenes that are really blue are noticeably like in standard lighting now, and that's an issue. That's a technical issue. It's really nothing to do with the creation of the film. But it's got a couple of good scares in it, and even today I can still get goose flesh on the rooftop scene. And there's a few moments where you really, because you really are able to get to know Jamie and Rachel, and you do want them to survive. You do root for them, unlike some later films where the characters were you just wanted them to die. And there is one character in this who's, the daughter of the sheriff. I wanted her to die. I was quite happy when she died because she was just hideous. And she yeah. I'm going to go for free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Did I already say that? I don't know. It's sometimes not wise to do multiple videos in a row because you kind of forget what you're saying, I think. But I just love the film and I just wanted to talk about it for a minute. And I thought I'd have more to say because aside from there are a couple little moments that are questionable. Aside from the wrong mask in the film, where when they showed up on the day, the mask was the wrong colour, and they had to rush and fix it, but they filmed like one scene before they realised. So you have this one scene in the film where Michael's face is pink and his hair is yellow, and then the scene at the end where the rednecks on the back of the ute that Michael is underneath when he comes up and throws them off. The fact that one of the guys in the back of the trailer doesn't notice the other two are being attacked and thrown off, and the driver doesn't notice. Although all he'd see is legs, he wouldn't have actually understood what was happening. So I just realised why he didn't realise, Michael was already standing, so all he saw was legs, and he heard some banging. I'm like, what are they doing? So it makes sense that he actually wouldn't stop the car or realise anything was happening. The other guy in the back who didn't notice that someone crawled up and threw the other two off, now that never made sense. But sometimes with horror films they just do what needs to be done to sort of forward the scene into the scenario they want, and it doesn't necessarily make sense. And sometimes they can blame it on the characters, so the audience will sit there and say, don't go in the house, don't drop the knife, don't do this, and it actually sort of leads to some interaction with the film, even though when you look at it objectively they're just doing stupid things and they shouldn't. They should have written something smarter where someone had to do that for some reason, not they just did it for no reason or because they were stupid. But aside from that little nitpick, and I've seen other people criticise things that aren't even issues, like someone was criticising how far Michael flew from the car when he was hit. And I'm like, do you not realise she's turning the car around and she's coming around in a circle, and that's why she has that parking in front of him? It's not like they're saying, oh, the car should have gone down the road for ages and then he would have been way behind her. I'm like, what part of she's turning the car around do you not understand? So a lot of people, unfairly criticise elements of the film, and that's something that happens a lot with reviews. And I caught a few people in reviews making mistakes and saying the wrong thing, and I try not to do that in mine. But I'm nearly up to 10 minutes. I should stop. I think I'm going to do a proper review of all these films, like a proper scripted review of all these films, because I do love them and I want to show them some respect. And not just sort of ramble about how I feel like I've done here, but it's basically 10 minutes, so I'm going to go really this time.